tum vero suo more victoriam conclamant, atque ululatum talunt, impetuque in nostros facto ordines perturbant. So let's look at the structure first. Okay, tum, vero, adverbial. Suo more looks like the same case, noun adjective pair. And then, let's see, we've got victoriam, which is probably accusative. So that looks like the main part of something. And then conclamant, which is a main verb. So right away, we've got a pretty simple kernel. We've got subject, verb, direct object. Woohoo! When's the last time we saw anything that easy at the beginning of a sentence? Notice the subject of this is the enemy attacking the Romans. They're the ones who are doing this. Now, it's kind of dirty pool because it's gapped. That is, we haven't really seen these guys as a subject of a sentence recently, but everybody mentioned in the previous passage is either dead or singular, so this is probably the enemy. Okay, keep going. Atque, so the enemy, apparently they did this, and with the atque, we're assuming they're going to do something else. Look, another accusative, and then a verb. Wow, so Caesar just gave us two simple clauses. Subject, verb, direct object, and subject, verb, direct object. So the enemy did these two things. Impetuque, another connector. This is ablative, so he's changing something here. And nostros, okay, that looks to me like a prepositional phrase, so I'm going to highlight it. Remember, Caesar uses the phrase ours to refer to our guys, i.e. the Roman soldiers. So impetu, ablative, prepositional phrase, facto, we had an ablative over here and an ablative over here. I wonder if this could be an ablative absolute. So we're going to mark off this ablative absolute. So basically, we have an ablative absolute with a prepositional phrase inside it. You can handle that. Let's see. How do we translate ablative absolute? With noun, participle. With an attack having been made. Oh, on whom? On our guys. Go figure. Prepositional phrase inside the ablative absolute. So we'll keep going, and then, oh look, Caesar does it again. He gives us a direct object and a main verb. So the bad guys did this, and they did this. Then he gives us a little participial clause, and then they do this. Notice Caesar gives us a list of 3 things, and he kind of tells us the last thing is coming up by introducing this ablative absolute to make it more interesting. A list of 3 with a little bit of a twist on the 3rd one, so it's not so boring to read. So again, you can go pull out your dictionaries if you're really stuck on the vocab, but it's pretty simple structure. Ibi Lucius cata pugnans interficitur cum maxima parte militum. Okay, again, we're going for structure before we try to do vocab. Ibi, boring adverb, meaning there. Lucius cata looks nominative to me. Pugnans, okay, so we seem to have a subject here. We're going to highlight that. Pugnans, of course, is a participle modifying kata, but that is so Latin 1 present active participle. Oh, interficitur. Uh-oh, not looking good for Lucius cata. So, again, Caesar's given us a pretty simple structure. We have a subject and then a verb right away. Thanks, Caesar. Cum maxima parte. Oh, prepositional phrase. You recognize that right away. We've got the word cum, which takes an ablative. We have the ablative adjective and the noun, that's the object. And then militum goes with it because that's a genitive noun modifying the part. Oh, do we need a moment of silence here? Hold on a second. Okay, now that we've had our moment of silence for the dead Romans, we can keep going. Reliqui se in castra recipiunt, unde erant aggressi. Okay, we've got reliqui, which looks nominative right away, and then we have se, which looks accusative, so it's making me suspicious. Nominative accusative. Is he introducing an indirect statement, or is he just giving us another simple sentence? We'll have to keep going. Oh, in castra, prepositional phrase. That's so old news by now. And then recipiunt. Hey, that's actually pretty simple. So we have, just for clarification, we've got a subject and a direct object and a main verb. Now notice this whole thing, Se recipiunt, that's the Romans' way of saying to retreat. The literal translation is they carried themselves, which is kind of the way of saying retreat because you run away. Unde, oh, that is a clause marker. From where? And then it ends here. From where? Erant aggressi. Notice aggressi is a deponent verb, so this form is the pluperfect. It would be passive if it were regular, but since it's deponent, it just looks passive. So this is a pluperfect tense. Let's see, how's it go? The rest of the guys, i.e. the ones who weren't killed, carried themselves into the camps from where they had come out. Ex quibus Lucius Petrosidius Aquilifor, cum magna multitudine hostium premeretur, Aquilam intra valem projecit, ipse pro castris fortissime pugnans occiditur. Okay, we've got another prepositional phrase here, ex quibus. Okay, what is the antecedent of quibus? We need something plural. The antecedent goes all the way back to reliqui over here. From whom, those guys over there. Then we've got our subject, Lucius Petrosidius, so we will underline him. And according to Caesar, he is the Aquilifer. So that's all one part. That's obviously the subject of something. But before we get there, we have a cum clause. Now, how do we know that this cum is introducing a cum clause instead of a prepositional phrase? Well, it's kind of ambiguous here because you've got a cum and then you'll have an ablative, so it sounds like with a great crowd. But if you continue, you'll notice that you have a subjunctive verb there with premeretur. So we really do have a cum clause, and the subjunctive verb is what tells us. Plus, it's set off by commas. So there we have our cum clause, and inside that cum clause, we have an ablative of means. Because look, by a great crowd, and the reason that's ablative, not because it's the object of the preposition cum, but because the verb of this cum clause is passive. And whenever you have something passive, you need an ablative to show you who's doing the action. So when he is this by a great crowd of enemy. Let's pretend you don't know the meaning of the word premeretur. What are the possibilities? This Roman guy, when he is something by a great crowd of enemies, use your context clues. What makes sense? It's probably not a good thing. So we're still waiting to see what our Aquilifer does when the enemy is doing this to him. So we've got our subject here, and then Caesar gives us a direct object because that's accusative. That's how we know it's a direct object. And then, of course, we have another prepositional phrase, intra valem, and then finally we get the main verb, projecit. So our main sentence right here is Lucius Petrosidius, the Aquilifer, he did this to this thing. And you can use your vocab clues to figure out exactly what he did. One note here, do not mix up the word valem, a wall, with a vallis, which is a valley, which we saw previously. Okay, then continuing on, ipse, that still refers to our Aquilifer, Lucius Petrosidius, so we will make that blue. So, let's see. Pro castris, oh, another prepositional phrase. Those are so old school now. Pro castris. Then we have a boring adverb, fortissime. And then we've got pugnans, and s. Wonder what that is. Looks like a present active participle in the nominative singular, which, of course, I'm making blue because it is talking about ipse, which is the subject of occiditur. So, again, our main part of the sentence is Lucius Petrosidius ipse pugnans occiditur. Do we need a moment of silence for him, too? Okay, continuing on. Illi aegre ad noctem appugnationem sustenent. Okay, illi refers to, somebody else. It can't be that Petrosidius guy because he's dead. It's actually referring to the rest of the Romans who we saw up here in Reliqui. So the guys who somehow made it back to the camp and weren't killed yet, that's who they're talking to here, illi. So we will make those guys blue. Illi, and then we have a boring adverb, aegre, ad noctem. Look, another prepositional phrase. Then we have our direct object, apognationem, and then the made verb sustenant. So we know that those guys are doing something to the apognationem. Ad noctem, that's kind of weird. To night, that means like into the night. This is like the longest day ever for these Romans. Noctu ad unum omnes desperata salute se ipsi interficiant. Okay, noctu, at night. Ad unum, by the way, noctu, at night. Looks like an ablative of time when. Ad unum, that's another prepositional phrase, and that's kind of weird. Ad unum, to one. What they mean is to a man, each guy individually. Omnes is your subject. Nominative plural. So let's see. Everyone. Desperata salute. Oh, looks like an ablative absolute here. And then we have say, which is accusative. So omnes did something to say. Say, and then ipsi is going back and it's referring to omnes, and that's nominative. So everyone, each, they all, themselves, interficiunt, say. Oh, well, that's kind of tragic. Pauci ex praelio lapsi incertis itineribus per silvas ad titum labienum legatum in hiberna perveniunt, atque eum de rebus gestis certiorum faciunt. Okay, pauci sure looks nominative to me, so it's probably the subject. And then we've got ex praelio, again, prepositional phrase. What's up with this lapsi? Looks nominative. It is a participle from labor, which is a deponent verb. So this is one of those perfect active participles, having slipped or escaped. And of course, it goes back here to pauci. So a few guys having escaped, and then we get this incertis itineribus, looks like a noun adjective pair. Ablative incertis, adjective, going with itineribus, ablative noun. Per silvas, another prepositional phrase, and then yet a different prepositional phrase, which we will put in a different color so you don't get confused. And then a third prepositional phrase. Wow! So if you get rid of all these prepositional phrases, the main part of the sentence really is this. A few guys arrived. That's it. That's the main sentence. You just get a bunch of modifying goo in between. We'll keep going. And, oh, I guess we're going to add a little more stuff. Eum, oh, looks accusative. And then we have another prepositional phrase here. De rebus gestis, oh, certiorum, another accusative. Right here. And then faciunt, the main verb. So again, our main sentence is, a few guys, faciunt, make him certain. Oh, remember that's how Caesar always said, told him. What did they tell him? About all the stuff. And presumably that's how Caesar himself found out, because we're always wondering how he knew since he wasn't there, but apparently some survivors told Labienus, and that's how Caesar got word of everything that happened at the winter quarters.